What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Onset podcast. That's right, we're back at it another week, Saturday at 6. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you're listening onto the audio edition, you might be like, wow, Jordan's sounding a little bit easier to hear, a bit crisper. It's not like he's talking through a funnel from the back room. That's right, I've got a brand new mic that Steve hooked us up with.
No,
So
it's
thank you, Steve.
all good, man. All good. Yeah, it's good having nice, consistent audio, nice, consistent sound. It's probably better
100%.
for all the ears out there listening in.
Exactly. People aren't going to have to be like trying to really struggle to hear me and then get blasted out by you.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
sweet.
sweet. That's right. That's right. Hey, what are we covering on this episode?
Well, that's a really good question, Steve. I'm glad you asked. So we're officially out of lockdown now. And so that means that I'm not confined to being locked in at home now, which is very exciting. It means that you won't hear me complaining about missing the beach or all those things that I feel like we all miss during lockdown. So we're back. We're working on the studio at the moment, which is super exciting as well. We've got a lot of things in store that we're working on for our own businesses and pretty much everything in general for this platform as well. And I feel like with all that, it's just so good and so refreshing to start to get back into like a bit more normalities of
Yeah.
things, things are starting to go back to normal.
Oh yeah. Like look. For and for everyone who's gone through it, I think to be able to get out and about again and to be able to try and push their business and push their personal brand or business brand along a bit more now, being able to get out and about is just excellent. So yeah, no, it's great, mate. It's awesome that you're out. Australia at the moment are kind of in that teetering kind of position where look, it could be about a month or so, and then it's just going to be kind of a free for all, really. So, um,
100%. It will be masks off,
exciting.
which would be which I'm keen for. No more suffocating at the gym, no more really looking unfit when you're on the treadmill.
That's right.
Um, So it'll be cool. I'm really excited for it. And especially as more restrictions start to lift, then we can start to do what we love and
Yeah.
get more involved into that wedding industry a bit more and start to grow that up, which would be really cool. I'm really pumped up for that. So, where I feel like the question is for you, Steve, if you want to elaborate for this platform and what we're doing outside of this, what's next? What are we working on?
Well, I think the whole thing with brand and and having that content and being able to push it out there to the masses pretty much is around a few visuals. Like I know we've talked a little bit around some artwork and some things like that we're wanting to put together. We're still working on that set, get that sorted. Now that's going to get pushed along pretty fast now that we can get out and about. So we'll get that sorted. But yeah, we've been talking a little bit around artwork and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. So, like with
Good.
branding and, hats and t-shirts and hoodies and all those kind of things. So, I think
Bit
that's
of
the
merchandise, Steve. A bit of
bit
merchandise.
of merch. Yeah. So it's
That sounds
cool.
pretty cool. So it's
Yeah.
not like Picasso type art that we're talking about. We're not doing paintings on canvases when you're mentioning art. It's more of that visual merchandise that
Yeah.
we're talking about. That
Yeah.
sounds pretty cool.
Something a bit funky, something that's not too not too bland either. It will have a bit of pop. So yeah, it's I think it's pretty cool that we're working on something like that, and like keeping it pretty local, like with artists and stuff like that. To try and help out small business these days, like with what's going on. So that's going to be pretty. A lot of fun. I think a lot of fun once we drop that. But we'll put that out. You'll see it on our Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff once that gets finished. So we're just through that concept stage at the moment, and we'll move through that and then look at colours and so on. So we'll go from there. But yeah, it's cool. And if anyone's interested in that kind of gear, then they can be in touch and we can send it out to them. So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
For sure, that'd be really exciting. So, as Steve said, for that Insta, just head on over to Onset Studios. That's pretty much we've talked about in the past. Where we talk about all of the, where we talk, wait up.
Oh. we've lost we've lost Jordan for a second there, but yeah, I'll carry it on. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward stuff, but it's also going to be quite good. For when we jump on the set, we can wear some gear that is branded to the Onset studios, and and move on from there. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun when it launches.
Here we go. Just had a cat fight.
Not with the missus there. That's actual
No,
cat.
no, actual cats. I had to quickly break up.
That's it. Nah, got to break those ones up. But yeah, no, I think
Far out.
yeah, it's gonna be good once that drops. But look, with out of lockdown, hopefully, we get back on board, and with us being in the photography and videography game, it's important that we can market our businesses the right way as well, and that's kind of came to a grinding halt really, except for across social media platforms. But going out to do venues or do expos or anything like that, so that's something that like hopefully comes back on board pretty quick. I think there's a bit of advertising around that now, so
For sure.
is it like we've talked briefly about some opportunities coming up. Did you want to share that with everyone?
Pretty much, I feel like you brushed on that quite well. It's over the last few months in lockdown, as what we've mentioned on the podcast before, as creators, excuse me, I feel like a lot of brainstorming came within that, a lot of planning, a lot of setting goals, doing a lot of the background work and setting the foundations. So once we come out of lockdown, we can go full steam ahead. And that's pretty much exactly what we're aiming and doing now. It's, the expos as they start to open up, being able to meet up with other vendors and other creators, to be other like-minded local businesses that we can touch base with and work alongside, to try and spread our brands, to be able to grow it, especially in this industry that we're targeting, the wedding industry in the Hunter Valley and Sydney regions. So as restrictions start to ease up, then we can start to pursue that more and more, which is something that we're super excited about, especially for next year. That's our goal that we've said a lot off camera. Is next year's our goal to be able to really push things hard, be able to push this podcast hard, push our businesses hard, aiming for a year of growth across all of our projects and pursuits, if you will. So I'm very excited about that. There's a lot of opportunities that are coming up and that we can foresee happening. So yeah, I can't wait to share all that with you guys, especially along the journey. And be able to, from that, get more and more guests to be able to come onto the podcast and be able to share a bit of their wisdom, bit of their insight as well on the creative industry. So
yeah. We might even what we might do is with some of these expos that we're going to be going to and stuff like that, we might do a bit of a remote podcast from a location. So that would be pretty interesting if like. Obviously, yeah. If anyone's interested in that kind of stuff, we might do a little bit of a pop-up podcast or something like that. So that would be pretty fun.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that further. But I think for everyone, I think anyone who's wanting to start to advertise like that way, like being in front of people, like we're a little bit unsure of numbers, like how many people are going to come out to these expos and so on. So I think that's the risk you got to have to take, with all the work that goes into, preparing yourself and preparing your your exhibit and stuff like that, is to have that all right. But then, like, look, if last year they had, 1,200, 3,000 people turn up to this expo, well, not last year, but the year before that, before COVID or so on. And then now, look, are they going to get that same number this year? That's the question. Can they have that same number? So yeah, that's what the risk is. But at the same time, I think everyone's been holding back, and if they do open the floodgates, then it could be a really pumping expo, and there could be
Mm.
it could be really awesome. So um,
Yeah. And that's it, like with everything, you just need to take that risk. Like Steve getting his haircut, you know, is that you just need to take the risk and just see what happens sometimes. Sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And
it's
we're
a
there for you, Steve, in case, whatever happens.
Mate,
So it's,
I reckon that's looking pretty freaking textbook, really. But yeah,
I
no,
mean, textbook is the word for it.
textbook,
But
straight out of the textbook.
all cut.
But
Um,
but mate, like, look, I think there's, like with anything, I think the risk and reward, like, we're gonna still push through, and yeah, there's
100%.
there's obviously you got to put a budget together to be able to do this kind of stuff, but I think it's worth it in the long run. And at the same time, like, we'll take everyone along on the, like you said, on the journey, and we want to hear from everyone. We want to hear from you if you think this is not the right way of going, or you think, if you have some great ideas for us, like, just throw them down in the comments, because we'd love to hear.
No, for sure, mate. That's one of those things that we want to hear back from you guys a lot, especially from like topics and like ideas on what creative pursuits are you guys going through at the moment coming out of lockdown. There's, we're all on this boat together as creatives. And I feel like in these trying times, no one has that 100% right answer. You
Yep.
know, it's all trial and error because as one thing that Steve said to me a few months ago is that 2 years ago with brides and grooms is that the only concern or worry was the weather,
Yeah.
and now everything with like COVID that's come up, it's a trialing times because you don't know in 2 months we're going to be back in lockdown, or 2 months our wedding's still going to be able to go ahead if it sparks back up.
Yeah.
So all we can really do is just plan for today and just try and pursue and set goals and execute them from the stand
Yeah. Yep.
point where we are at. So it's exciting though. It's exciting for change and it's exciting to pursue these though, even considering where the everyone's at.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's
Do you,
cool.
have you found, in your area, do you think that small business will start to push with advertising? Do you think that's something that, obviously
Of
coming out of
course.
lockdown, or do you think that they're kind of a little bit hesitant when it comes to spending money?
I feel like it's a mix of both. I feel like businesses know that they need to invest that money into marketing to be able to showcase that, hey, we are COVID friendly, we are COVID safe, to be able to push that promotions out to everyone. Um, is that awareness that, hey, we're back open, we're doing well. But there again, it's like a catch-22 because there's also on the flip side is that everyone's so conservative at the moment and very like standoffish because no one knows what's going to happen. And if you put a business that can't operate and isn't, if they weren't able to get all that funding for 3 months, as soon as they come back, it's a hard time to come back
Mm.
to, especially if you don't have that financial support. So it's a mixture of both, and especially being in a larger city. And one thing that you would know from when you're in Sydney is it's a saturated market, no matter
Yeah.
what. So
Yep.
you've got to really brand yourself well, and you've really got to pursue it and tick off all those 1%ers to be
Yep.
able to make sure that you can land that job and get ready to be able to land that job if you end up getting it, to be able to actually have that time and to be able to dedicate everything you can to help that business
Mm.
in that promotional side of things.
Yeah, it's yeah. I think that's perfectly put, mate. Is that, look, these businesses have struggled. Like, there's only a handful that really took advantage of the whole COVID situation. But yeah, for most business, I think they've really struggled, and it'd be very
Mm.
hard to say, look, we're gonna, make a budget for advertising. instead of just trying to open up and trying to just get the ball rolling again.
Yeah.
So that must make it really difficult. But at the same time, like if you're not in front of people's eyes, then no one knows what you're doing. Like obviously, like I've seen it around my local area with sales and so on. Like 60-70% sales off things and stuff like that, because they're just needing to get rid of that stock that they've had sitting there for over a year. And they've got, like we're coming into summer, so there's summer stock that's is about to come in through the door, and they've got all this winter stuff that's just sat there, and now they got to try and get rid of winter. Like if we're talking retail clothing, like are you really going to buy that big winter jacket when we're coming into 35, 40 degree heat? Like I don't think so. Like
It makes it tough. And I feel like for a lot of businesses, they're going to learn a lot from these last few times, with like COVID and restrictions and everything like that. I feel like a lot more businesses are going to start to head to being more based online as well, to actually try to maneuver through these times,
yeah,
because it's like, especially with retail, if you're like an online business, then you can kind of work the way through these times. But as you said, is that for the people that are brick and mortar, it makes
mm,
it so tough. It makes
mm,
it really tough, because and your heart goes out, like,
yeah,
it's when you've got so much stock that if you can't sell it for the intended price that you set out to like budget and market for, and now, as you said, 70 to 80% off, mate, the cut that you're getting from that's hardly anything.
yeah, yeah,
It is still a good cut considering of what it's made for, but it's still the profit and loss on
yeah. You're
that
not
is
not making
it's
much.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, the profit margin isn't
See,
that
there was
much.
one. I'll tell you a quick story. There was a pub up here that obviously the kegs they go off over a certain amount of time, and we came out of lockdown only for a couple of weeks, and we went back into lockdown. But in that time that we came out of lockdown, the pub just said, "Hey, look, these kegs are going to go off. So look, it's an open slather pretty much, and if you could make it down there, you got free beers." So it was.
You're
I
kidding.
think they had to obviously COVID restrictions with social distancing and all that kind of stuff, but they got a few people down there pretty quick.
You can already guarantee that Steve was one of those few people down there.
I was lined up. Well, actually, I was. I think I slept over there, and I was just
Yeah,
in a sleeping
you
bag out the
camped
front.
out the night before. You camped out. You're acting like it was an Apple launch. You're
That's
camping out the front of it.
just for a schooner.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, Steve.
That's it. Oh man, everyone loves a ice cold beer out of the keg.
I thought you came on the podcast a bit hazy the next day.
No way, no way.
I didn't
I'm
understand why. Committed.
committed, mate. No way. No. But mate, I think that's like look, this podcast, this episode's kind of gone up and down with what we wanted to talk about. But basically, yeah, we're out of lockdown. Hopefully, full steam ahead now. We've got a few projects on the way, with merch and with a bit of travel, around Australia and stuff like that. So, we'll keep everyone in the loop with what's going on. And yeah, that's really about it.
100%. So, as we said before, guys, if you want to see a bit more of the behind the scenes action of the Onset podcast, head over to our Instagram page, as we're going to be launching a lot more of the behind the scenes, a lot more of the updates, a few more. Like, it's a really good platform for us to be able to reach out and connect with you guys to see what you guys are interested in, what you guys want to hear from us, what topics. Let us know. But apart from that, guys, I feel like we covered everything on a bit of a catch up session. Now that we're out of lockdown, hopefully, fingers crossed, the next podcast you see from us could be in a studio of some sort. It might
Yep.
be that it's not going to be the full studio that we're working on, but we will be in person.
Yep.
So I'm still trying to prepare myself to be able to sit down, having to actually see Steve in person at a desk. Like, that's going to be pretty hard. especially for like half an hour. So, um, it'll be
Tough.
sweet.
It's gonna be
It'll be
tough.
tough stuff. But anyway, guys, if you liked the podcast and you made it to this far in this episode, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. It really means the world to us. And if you guys haven't already, head on down below, subscribe, like the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, well, hit the dislike. Let us know what we can improve on and what you want to hear more from us down in the comment section below. And if you guys have any of your own adventures and pursuits that you're working on these times coming out of lockdown, again, let us know down below. We can't wait to hear from you creatives. As we said before, we're building a community of creators out here, so we can't wait to, well, that might have been some distortion right there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I made it the whole podcast without moving this mic too much and had to finish off with blasting your ears out. But anyway, guys, thank you guys again for tuning in and watching. Head on over to Spotify for the audio only version. And of course, you're on YouTube for the visuals, as you guys already know. Is anything else, Steve?
Nothing. Just Onset.studios. Come and see us.
Come and see us, guys. Have a fantastic rest of the day. And until next week, Saturday at 6. Peace out. Catch you guys.